today I want to talk about the posture we need on the horse so that we can be a very light load on the horse's back, not moved around by the horse, being able to stay over the movement of the horse, be flexible in the right places, but strong in our core so that we can put very precise signals on. Those are the 4 operants we talked about in the groundwork in a really clear way, not a blurry way. So this posture is called in karate horseback riding stance. Very ancient, and in all martial arts they have this stance. And when a rider's sitting on a horse correctly, they are in this horseback riding stance. So you can see I'm upright, my toes are slightly in, my heel is slightly out, my knee is wide, I'm narrow here, I'm very strong in the core, my shoulder is over my hip, and I'm obviously standing in balance. I'm neither behind the vertical, in front of the vertical, hollow, or rounded. I want to have this very strong neutral spine. In this posture, I can put signals on and I can make a frame around the horse so that the horse can be very clear when I'm asking it to stop or go or turn. And we can have a much better communication, and yet it can carry me around because I'm quite weight-bearing on my upper thigh, and my outer thigh can give some signals to help the turns. So right now I want to show you how I'm going to put Julie in this horseback riding stance on the horse. So now I'm going to put Julie in this martial arts stance, and she's pretty close to right, but Julie, sit in a way where you're kind of slumped, you're a little behind vertical, maybe your legs a little forward, and I see a lot of riders that come out in this posture. So instead of me just saying get your leg back and sit up tall, I'm going to actually do a lot of hands-on to help her find the right posture. So one of the best ways to organize her is to put both feet, Julie, for me, in front of the saddle. You can either have the rider have their feet in the stirrups if you feel that's for safety, or you can just take the feet out. Now, I am going to get her upper body in a posture so that her pelvis is upright. And when her pelvis is upright, if I put my hand under her pelvis, I'll feel 2 little sit bones. And they will be feeling as if they're pointing straight down. Are you okay with that, Julie?
Yes.
Now, the first thing for her to be in neutral spine so that all the curves in her back are in the right balance and her pelvis is upright, her shoulder has to be over her hips. And that looks pretty good. So if you lift your bum up for me, there you go. A little bit more, Jill. Good. And now, I can feel her sit bones. She's sitting. So right now, if you, just to explain a little bit about the pelvis, if she leans behind vertical, the pelvis will tilt backward and the sit bone will point forward. If she goes ahead of vertical, it's vice versa. The pelvis tips forward and the sit bones point backward. Now, her shoulders are spot on over her hip, but there's slight bit of her pelvis tilted forward. And that's because she has a little bit of her tummy that's a little bit in front of her pelvis. So if you think of the pelvis like a bowl, it's like the contents of the bowl are tipping forward. So I'm going to ask her, Jill, not to lean behind vertical, but there's these deep muscles called the transverse abdominis muscles. And if she engages them, that pulls her pelvis upright, and now the sit bone is pointing straight down. Let your tummy hang out again, Jill. Go hollow. There's a bit of a hollow in her back. And now lift your pelvis up. And then almost think you're pushing your belly button to your waistband. And now she's in perfect neutral spine. And she could sit on me all day. I don't feel anything. It's very light. So I'm going to take my hand out from under her. The next thing, once she's in neutral, you think you can keep that, Jill?
Yep.
I'm going to fix her leg position so that she has that Kibadachi look, and we call it inner thigh rotation. So I'm going to take one of her legs, and her leg is now out in front. I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to take that thigh and turn it in from way up here. So the upper third of the thigh, I'm really turning it in. Then she just flexes her knee, lifts her foot up, and let your foot rest in the stirrup. With her foot resting in the stirrup, you can see her heel, hip, and shoulder are in one line, okay? And I tell riders to think of lifting the toe up instead of pushing the heel down, because if I told her to push her heel down, her leg would probably go forward. I'm going to adjust her other leg. The same thing, her leg's out here. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to turn it in from way up high. Julie, just bring your body a little bit more over. Good. And then her knee flexes, and her toe lifts up, and her foot rests in the stirrup. Now, we want about, from the hip to the knee, about a 45-degree angle. Again, you can see this is a fairly deep stance. I'm much more stable in this stance than I am just with if the rider had a very long stirrup. I don't want this too out in front, but I don't want it like this, super hanging down, because there won't be as much stability. And this posture is as much about stability as it is about lightness. So with her in this posture, she's carrying a lot of weight on her upper thigh, but it's a very strong posture, but also it's not sitting on a horse like you're sitting on your bum. Now, do you still feel that your bowl is up, Joe? Yep. Good. And you feel your heel is under your hip. And one of the most important things in riding is we always want to feel when we're riding. If the horse disappeared, like I pressed a button, and this horse disappeared out from under Julie, Julie would land on her feet. If Julie's leg was out in front of her, she would land on her bum. If her leg was way too far back, she would land on her head. And we want to feel we would land on her feet. The last muscle I want to talk about of this posture is a muscle called the Latissimus Dorsi. This muscle runs under the armpit. It's a long, ropey muscle, and it's a connecting muscle, and it's the largest muscle in your torso, and it connects the arm to the trunk, to the pelvis, and to the thigh. Push her forward, push your hands forward. There you go. Perfect. Well done. Now, her bowl, because she's a little tipped forward again, we got to adjust that. So lift your bowl up, Jewel. And this muscle runs all the way under here. So relax your arm for a second. Put the reins in one hand. And we're going to do an exercise to find this muscle. This muscle will enable Julie to be able to make a halt or slow or shorten the stride without pulling, so that she can stop the horse and give a release, just like we do on the ground. But if she only uses this muscle in her arm, the bicep muscle, this is a backward action, so there's no release of pressure. And I want to explain that for a minute. Julie, just pull your elbow back and pull on me, and I pull on Julie. And if she stops pulling, you stop pulling, I'm going to fall backward. If I pull on her and I stop pulling, she's going to topple backward. So if we do that, the horse never gets a release of pressure, and it starts to just give up on the woe and maybe go against the bit or raise its neck or keep going. When we use the lat muscle, the bowl up, this muscle will connect the arm so that we don't engage the bicep muscle, and we're going to find that so that when I pull on her, and I'll show it in a minute, she's going to get pulled more into the saddle. Actually, I'll show it right now. See the difference? Now I stop pulling, and she can give the hand forward. There's a release. Let's do that again, Jewel. Excellent. Because she's not pulling on my pull, she's passively resisting my pull. Now to find this muscle, assuming you're in neutral spine, you're going to do a little exercise. Okay, so you're going to put your arm up, this circle, without lifting your chest, and then drop it back, backstroke. Keep that shoulder coming back and down. Let the arm hang. Softly bend your elbow. With the shoulder lowered and the elbow lowered, push from that muscle forward. Can you feel the lat engage?
Yeah.
Now resist me. And you can see I'm pulling as hard as I can, and I'm not moving her. She's not pulling on me. I stop pulling, and she can give a nice release.